A hearty good morning to all the participants. Welcome everyone to the fourth day of International E-Faculty Development Program organized by Nehru College of Pharmacy.
Very good morning to all. This is Parthiban, Dr. Parthiban from Nehru College of Pharmacy, and we welcome you for the day 4 session. A warm welcome from Nehru Group of Institutions. The participants are coming up. Chief guests have to come. Let us start this day with a small quote. Keep your face always towards the sunshine. So we must always we may be an optimistic way to bring all the things into realistic. We are waiting the chief guest to join with us. Principal sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning to all.
Madam, very good morning, madam. You are welcome to our platform.
Thank you.
This is Dr. Parthiban from Nehru College of Pharmacy, moderator.
Very good morning, madam.
Good morning, sir.
Sudhar, sir. Prasan, sir, good morning. Principal, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
అప్పుడప్పుడు దాన్ని ఇలా అంటూ ఉండాలి. One minute, question number 1 minute.
Madam, your topic is somewhat unique and it is quite interesting. Just you have gone through this, your all slides and other things.
Yes, I sent it yesterday to Dr. Sudhakar. I want to speak about how pharmacists have to attend to old people. How they are different, how they are unique, what special care we have to take, and the physiological changes and all that. That's what I want to talk about.
Very good, madam. You are welcome. You are very anticipately. We are waiting for your lecture.
Excuse me. Good
Sudhar,
morning,
sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sudhar, sir. Sudhar, sir. Good morning.
This is Satya from Adi College of Pharmacy.
Madam, namaste. Madam, namaste. Welcome to Nehru College of Pharmacy at this function. Madam, I'm Dr. Sagar. Madam,
Good morning. Good morning.
good morning, madam. Good morning, madam. Welcome, madam. Welcome
Thank
for
you.
the yes, welcome for the today's session.
Thank you.
Sir, can we start our program?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So let us once again I welcome you all for this FTP platform. Then again you can say that is all is our towards the sunshine. The eminent scientist has given the scope. So we'll start with the scope, and I welcome Professor Dr. Vijaya Rota from Andhra University, Visakhapatnam. And I request all the participants to mute your mic and video, and only it will be clear and audible. Thank you. And there will be two platforms will be given for your discussions under the one discussion. First one is you have to ask direct question also, and you have to type the question in the chat box also. So the participants are requested to participate actively in the discussion session. Thank you. Then we'll go for our program. I welcome Madam. Give your introduction about Madam.
Once again, a hearty good morning to one and all. I request all the delegates to kindly Faculty Development Program organized by Nehru College of Pharmacy. Today we have another eminent speaker, Professor Dr. Vijayaratna Madam from Andhra University. Madam completed her B.Pharm, M.Pharm, PhD from Andhra University, Visakhapatnam. Professor Dr. Vijayaratna Madam having around 39 years of experience in teaching and research area. Madam received Andhra Pradesh Best Teacher Award from Pharmacy Field in the year 2018. She is having different administrative positions like Chairman, Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Visakhapatnam, Chairman, Board of Studies, AU College of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Andhra University, Visakhapatnam. She is the coordinator for PharmD course. Madam had a different academic positions at Andhra University, Visakhapatnam. She has professional membership in Association of Pharmaceutical Teachers of India, Indian Pharmaceutical Association, Indian Hospital Pharmacists Association, Indian Pharmacy Graduates Association, Indian Association of Pharmaceutical Science and Technology, member of 5 academic bodies, member of Ethics Committee of King George Hospital, Visakhapatnam. She is a research guide for 38 PhD theses, which are awarded also, guided 100 M.Pharm theses also. She has got different publications in around 108 publications in reputed national and international journals and have the credit of 3 patents. She has successfully completed 5 government projects also. Madam participated and presented research findings in many national and international conferences. Madam achieved different prizes like Harana Memorial Prize by Indian Pharmaceutical Association, won the silver medal in B.V. Patel National Essay Writing Competition, first prize in National Essay Writing Combination on JTT Agreement, drug prizes in India after 2005, won 3 prizes in B.V. Patel National Essay Writing Combination Community Pharmacy in 1998. Won ML Kharana Gold Medal for standing fast in B.Pharm on All India basis in the year 1977 by Indian Pharmaceutical Congress Association. Won the Andhra University Gold Medal for standing first in Andhra University in B.Pharm in 1977 by Andhra University. Won G.P. Nair Gold Medal for standing first in Andhra University in B.Pharm 1977 by IDMA. won the IPA gold medal for standing first in Andhra University in B Farm in 1977 by IPA Andhra Pradesh State. Won the DC Lahari gold medal given by Rotary International Visakhapatnam for excellence in studies, sports and social service in 1976 by Rotary International Visakhapatnam. Such an eminent person, a speaker with us for today, and she is delivering a speech on geriatric pharmacy. On behalf of management and faculty of Nehru College of Pharmacy, welcome you, madam, for the 4th day of International E-Faculty Development Program. Welcome you, madam.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good morning, madam. Welcome you once again. With a
Thank
small
you.
quote, an eminent teacher makes minds to think, hands to create, thoughts to dedicate. You are welcome to deliver your beautiful lecture.
Thank you, sir. So I'm very honored to be here. Very honored to be giving a presentation on geriatric pharmacy to all of you. And before I open my lecture PPT and tell you, I would like to tell you one or two words. So I have chosen this topic. This is a topic of very good interest to me. It is a topic after my heart, because the world is, in the world, the extent of older population is increasing day by day. Many countries are showing a high percentage of old people. Definitely in India, we do have a good percentage of old people. So these old people are to be seen as a part of the national wealth. They gather a lot of experience, they have a lot of knowledge, and they are very wise because they have seen the world since so many years, maybe 60 years, 65 years, 70 years, like that. So their contribution to the society can be very, very good. On the other hand, the age of the body is going and going. The chronological age is there, and the effects of the time are there on the body. Several physiological changes are happening, and with age, because of the stress conditions they are facing, they get some diseases also. Some diseases which may come because of stress, because of age, because of lifestyle and all that. So if only these age-related conditions can be better programmed, better arranged, better understood by the doctors and by the pharmacy people, if only we can give better care to them by means of treatment, by means of care, by means of affection, by means of administering drugs in the proper manner, preparing drugs in the proper manner, if we can give them that care, then this national wealth, their contribution to the country will be much more. They can contribute much more. We can derive the benefit of the knowledge, wisdom and experience of these old people much more. So that is the theme of my speech, the background of my speech. Before I go into my speech, I want to tell you one more thing. So my PPT has 7 components. So at different points in my speech, I'll be stopping and asking you a simple question. The answer to that will be very simple, yes or no, increases, decreases, like that. So I request you, when I ask the question, I'll give you 10 to 20 seconds time. In that time, please give the answer to the organizer, that is to the website. Send a message, yes or no, increases or decreases, like that. So I'll be asking totally 8 questions. At the end of my PPT, I'll read out the answers to all the 8 questions. Then you send another message saying how many answers you got right. So this I will later on, after consolidation, I'll take it as a feedback on the way how much you understood from my speech and how I have presented. So thank you. Now I'll get into my PPT. Sir, is that visible?
No, madam. Not at all. No.
It's not visible?
No, madam.
Okay. I have to do some screen sharing or something. So Dr.
Yes, yes.
Sudhakar, please help me. What should I do?
Yeah. You have to click the present now.
Present I have to do.
Yeah. You have to click the present now on the window and click the
Entire screen.
yeah.
Entire screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Now is it visible, sir? Check it. Now, sir, is it?
Visible, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, madam, coming.
Visible? Can I start my lecture?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Okay, then. Thank you. So, good morning, dear students. It is 9:45 now. So my objective would be to finish this by 10:45 or 10:50. Before that, I will close. So my topic is geriatric pharmacy. See, what happens is there are 7 components, as I already told you. Introduction, physiological changes in geriatric people that affect the pharmacokinetics of medicines, the changes that affect the pharmacodynamics of medicines, effect of disease states, guidelines for prescribing, patient counseling, how it is to be done, and 1 or 2 research papers. So there are many age-related changes that can have a significant effect on drug therapy. All health practitioners, doctors, yes,
Ma'am, your PPTs are not visible.
it is not visible.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry for the interruption.
No, it is visible, sir, that PowerPoint that you have to click that one. Another one.
Excuse me?
Yes, yes.
The PPT is visible only, ma'am.
Visible only.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
not
saying.
Visible only.
Yeah, in the mobile, another name will be there. That you have to click, sir.
So
Okay,
is it
okay.
visible? Yes or no?
I will check, madam. You can proceed. You can proceed, madam. Sorry for the interruption. You can proceed.
Okay. So many age-related changes happen in the old people, and all healthcare people need to be aware of this. This knowledge must be possessed by all the people who are attending to patients who are above 65, and then only the therapeutic effectiveness will be more and the ADRs will be less. So why is such a situation? Why should we take the elderly people as a different class? What's happening in them? What are the concerns? The concerns are that they usually suffer from 1 or more chronic disease. Meaning chronic means it's not acute. It is there for a long time, it is there, and usually lifelong they have to take medicines. They have multiple diseases and they take multiple medicines, and this becomes more as they grow beyond 75 years. The common diseases are arthritis, hypertension, hearing impairment, heart disease, vision impairment, orthopedic disability, and diabetes mellitus. All these are the problems of the old. So they take multiple medications. They take nearly 3 times as many medications as younger patients. Because of so many medications, what is the possibility if they don't know how to take them? If many old people I see, they finish their lunch and they take 10 or 12 tablets or capsules into their hand and take them all one after the other with water. Now that is not at all to be done. So many medicines are to be taken away from fruit. So many medicines are to be taken wide apart from each other. For example, you should not take a blood pressure medicine along with an antibiotic. Mostly that is true. Calcium is to be taken away from the food. Iron is to be taken away from the food. Antibiotic is to be taken 2 times in a day. If it is given 2 times in a day, 9 a.m., 9 p.m. The timing has to be maintained. So many rules are there. For every medicine, a specific drug-related, disease-related, time-related patient counseling has to be given. If most people don't know, they don't follow all these things because they don't get that pharmaceutical care what they require. As a result, what happens? Drug interactions happen and medicines don't act as they should. And ADRs happen, adverse drug reactions happen. So, this is when coming to the dosage. In the old age people, several possibilities are there. So it is necessary to reduce the dose and start with the lowest possible dose without sacrificing efficacy, and then titrate to the given condition. For example, diabetes is there, start with a small dose of metformin if metformin is the drug, and titrate with the blood glucose control. Similarly for hypertension. So this possibility should be kept in mind by all the doctors and the pharmacists. So adverse drug reaction rate is much more in the elderly than in the young people. Why is this? Because mostly after 75 and 80, the renal changes and hepatic changes happen. renal function and hepatic function comes down. Even if there is no other thing, even if there is no comorbidity, even if there are no bad habits, even if the lifestyle is good, even then renal and hepatic function may go down in the elderly. And changes in body composition associated with aging happen. We'll see this more as we go along. So body composition changes. That means level of hydration comes down, fat proportion goes up, and the lean mass decreases. So the elderly, they look shriveled, they look shorter. All these things happen, shrunken. These happen because the body composition is changing. And polypharmacy is happening. They take many medicines. As a result, more ADRs are possible. So clinically significant changes in metabolism, distribution and excretion occur in elderly patients. As a result, when you are giving them even a small medicine, remember that this is going to act differently in the elderly because of so many changes that are happening in their body situation. Now here you are seeing a picture of a medical camp in Kovada that we have carried out in 2015. In our Andhra University, as soon as we started PharmD, we used to do medical camps since long. But once PharmD came, we got them incorporated into the medical camps. And what you are seeing here are all our PharmD students. Some P-Pharm and M-Pharm students are also there. Here is our faculty, Dr. Santosh, who did his PharmD in JSS College, Mysore. So here you are seeing the patients to whom they are giving counseling. See, they give counseling in a very, very, very elaborate manner. Patient counseling is the most important thing. 4 or 5 people sit and they do different things to do. So this is my introduction, and at this level, I want to ask you a question. My question is this. Arthritis is a disease that comes in young people. Answer yes or no. Question is, arthritis is a disease that comes in young people. Say yes or no. I think the time is sufficient. Let us proceed. So let us now we are going to the second part of my lecture. This is the most important part really, because we are all pharmacy people. We need to focus a lot on pharmacokinetics. What is pharmacokinetics? How the drug is absorbed into the blood, distributed into the blood, metabolized in the liver and other places, and eliminated by the kidney and other organs. This absorption, distribution, metabolism and elimination, and as a result, what is happening to the blood level of the drug? What is the area under the curve? What is the Ke absorption rate constant, Ke elimination rate constant, and what is the T-half? All these are known as pharmacokinetic parameters, as you know. And what physiological changes, that is body changes, are happening in old people that affect the pharmacokinetics of medicines. We are going to see that now. Now, first of all, let us consider the changes in the body that affect the absorption of the drug. Many changes occur in the gastrointestinal tract with age. For example, increased gastric emptying time is there. That means the motility of the GI organs decreases in old people. As a result, gastric emptying time is increased. That means food stays in the stomach for a long time. Then decreased salivary flow is there. Salivary flow is decreased. Decreased absorptive capacity of the intestinal cells is there. So digestion and absorption is decreasing. Decreased gastric acid secretion is there. There is not that much acid in the stomach. As a result, also digestion suffers and the pH increases, and reduced gastrointestinal motility is happening, and reduced splanchnic blood flow. That is, in general, to the gastrointestinal tract, the blood flow is decreasing. So here only the increase is happening in the gastrointestinal motility, that's all, and in the pH. Most others are decreasing. Gastric emptying time is also increasing. Salivary flow is decreasing, gastric acid is decreasing, and splanchnic blood flow is decreasing. For that matter, you can remember this clearly. Blood flow to all organs is decreasing. That is the rate of blood flow. The rate at which blood flows to the GIT is decreasing, liver is decreasing, brain is decreasing, renal is decreasing. For that reason also, because of that reason only, the distribution of the drug is not happening properly, and that we have to remember. So though all these things are happening, generally there are no clinically significant alterations in absorption. Rate of absorption may be reduced, but extent is usually unchanged. So, but GI disorders may be there. They may have enteritis, malabsorption, gastrectomy, and drugs may be used such as laxative, antacid, ion exchange resins, and because of all these conditions, absorption may be changed. At this point, I want to take impress one more thing upon you. So, how absorption is taking place by other routes. For example, if you are talking about transdermal, then changes happen in the hydration and the lipid level of the skin also. So, increased barrier function of the stratum corneum is there, and for relatively hydrophilic compounds, the absorption is reduced. So, please remember that this absorption is dependent upon the body situation, upon the route of administration, and is different depending upon the properties of the drugs. Hydrophilic drugs absorption is decreasing. Lipid soluble drugs absorption is increasing. Why that's happening, we will presently see. So if you talk about subcutaneous absorption, vascular capillaries and lymphatic channels are responsible. Here also, absorption is not much changed, but the molecular size of the drug is going to have a lot of influence. So then, so this is about the, so ocular, we have to consider several routes of absorption. They are all different. Ocular absorption is also decreased in the elderly people. So this is how absorption rate is reduced a little bit, but usually the extent is unchanged. This point, however, has to be remembered in connection with the properties of the drug. Most important property to be considered in this context is it hydrophilic or is it lipid soluble? If it is lipid soluble, its absorption is likely to be more than the other way around. So, if you talk about the distribution of the medicine in the blood, then how are the body, what are the physiological conditions of the body that are affecting the distribution of the drug in the blood? So, body constitution changes with aging. Body constitution changes with aging. So what happens? What do we mean by constitution? There is a decrease in the lean body mass and in body water. The lean body mass, that is the muscle mass, is decreasing, and the body water hydration is decreasing. Fat mass is increasing as a proportion of total body weight. Not because they are consuming more fat, but because the muscle mass is decreasing, hydration is decreasing, the fat is increasing as a proportion of the total body weight. That is why whenever I went to my doctor, personally my experience is, if I go down a little bit in weight, doctor would warn me, madam, please don't overdo your exercise, because if you overdo your exercise, your muscle will go down and you cannot get back your muscle in this age. Point is, young people may get it back, muscle, but the old people will not be able to get their lean body mass back again if they once lose it. So only the fat proportion will be increasing. So this is a change that happens because of the age. Decrease in lean body mass and in body water hydration will go down. So fat mass will increase. As a result, lipid soluble drugs are taken up into the tissues to a greater extent. That is, the distribution of lipid soluble drugs is happening more into the tissues. They are going into the tissues to a greater extent. So they have increased volume of distribution and prolonged duration of action. You all know what volume of distribution is. Volume of distribution means it has an influence on the extent of distribution into the tissues. So, because lipid soluble drugs are going more into the tissues, and this is a reversible process, they come back into the blood slowly because this is a reversible process. So a drug which is lipid soluble, which is given to old people, will stay in their body for a long time, and slowly it is going to come back into their blood. So the distribution, important factors are decrease in lean body mass, decrease in total body water, decrease in serum albumin, increase in alpha-1 glycoprotein, increase in total body fat, possible alterations in protein binding. So, in addition to the points that I told earlier, see, serum albumin is the protein and alpha-1 glycoprotein, these two proteins are responsible for binding the drugs in the blood quite a lot. Serum albumin is decreasing, but alpha-1 glycoprotein is increasing. So as a result, what possible alterations in protein binding can happen because of this decrease in plasma protein. So just because level of plasma albumin declines with age, no change may happen. Protein binding of highly protein bound drugs tends to be reduced in the elderly. Examples are phenytoin, diazepam, NSAIDs, tolbutamide, valproate and warfarin. Please observe, dear students, that here you have some drugs which are having a very narrow therapeutic index on which we have to focus a lot. Example, phenytoin and warfarin. So in contrast to the above, alpha-glycoprotein, which primarily binds the basic drugs, levels increase. So binding of highly bound drugs like propranolol tends to be increased. So what's happening? Drugs like phenytoin, warfarin, they are getting less bound and more available. Extent is, this is also a reversible binding, but they can be more available in the blood, and that can lead to an ADR. That is a possibility with phenytoin and warfarin and diazepam. If it is a basic drug, it can be highly bound drug, and propranolol, that binding tends to be increased. This is, however, not clinically significant, as compensatory changes in volume of distribution and drug clearance prevent the unbound drug concentration from changing significantly. So now some of these points may be theoretical and may not be so significant, but it is good to be aware. Altered protein binding becomes important when interpreting measured drug concentrations, because they are usually total concentrations that we are binding. We are finding out when you are measuring the plasma concentration. Decreases in total body water lead to a much smaller volume of distribution for water soluble drugs. That means what? If it is a water soluble drug, if it is in the blood, volume of distribution is decreasing. That means it is not going into the tissues much. It is staying in the blood only. Increases in total body fat will result in a larger volume of distribution for lipid soluble drugs. So here you understand what I am saying when I say that a lot is depending. So you can't say this is the rule, this is how it is happening. These are the physiological changes in the distribution. This is the drug. This is the physical property of the drug. Is it lipid soluble? Is it water soluble? This is the therapeutic index of the drug. Depending on all these, you can come to a conclusion whether it is going to be more available or less available in the tissues and in the blood. So clear understanding of the pharmacokinetic concepts of clearance, absorption, T-half, volume of distribution is required to understand this concept that I am telling. But we have to be aware, and special caution needs to be taken in the case of drugs like phenytoin and warfarin. These factors, along with age-related changes in drug clearance, can have a huge impact on the eventual steady-state concentrations. So this is what you have to remember. So changes in albumin concentration with age alone are not clinically significant, but if the patient is also malnourished, then what happens? The protein level is further reduced in the blood. So protein binding becomes clinically significant, and increases in free drug serum concentrations may be seen. Let us take the case of phenytoin. Total protein values are usually stable because of the increase in alpha-1 glycoprotein. For extensively protein-bound drugs such as phenytoin, whose binding is reduced due to hypoproteinemia, one should expect both therapeutic and toxic events at lower total serum concentrations. So as I said, In the case of phenytoin, warfarin and all that I gave the example. These are highly protein bound, and if the patients, in addition to aging, suppose the patient is also consuming less proteins for some reason or the other, so hypoproteinemia is there. Because of this, the therapeutic effect as well as toxic effect happens at a lower total serum concentration. Why? Earlier it is used to be bound to the protein, and only a small fraction of drug is available in the blood. For example, warfarin is about 99% protein bound. So only that 1% which is there in the blood, which is slowly being released by the protein, is causing the action of anti-clotting activity that is happening. So suppose even 2% is reduced in protein binding, if instead of 1%, 3% is available in the blood at any given time, that can lead to high blood pressure, accident, or it can lead to a blood flow accident or something like that. So this is the possibility that is happening with warfarin, phenytoin and all these drugs which are having an extensively protein bound drug. So the binding affinity of albumin may also decrease with age, which may also increase free fraction of highly bound drugs. So this is the point that I am making. The free fraction of highly bound drug may be available at any given time. A large fraction may be available. Instead of 1%, 3% may be available. That can cause an accident. So before I leave protein binding, I would like to impress something upon you, which I used to do in my class every time, especially for PharmD students. So I tell them, you learn a lot about, anyway you are learning a lot about drugs in your pharmacology on that category of drugs and all that. But those PharmD students who are attending to the hospital OP every day as a part of their clerkship, they are attending wards every day and doing the research, especially clerkship. This is the exercise that you have to take up. So open a notebook, write phenytoin in the first page and leave 5 pages. Write everything you know about phenytoin in that page, in those 5 pages. Write what is the use, what are the pharmacokinetic parameters of phenytoin, what is the dosage of phenytoin, what are the dosage routes through which it is administered, what are the possible ADRs, what are the possible drug interactions with other drugs. So is it protein bound, is it lipid soluble, is it water soluble? Like this you fill with phenytoin. Then you write 5 pages diazepam, 5 pages warfarin. I am not telling about other drugs, please see. I am talking about phenytoin, diazepam, warfarin, your theophylline, and some drugs are there, which come repeatedly as you are studying your pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics. They come repeatedly. They are important because if they are less than a particular amount, they are useless. Only one step above, they become toxic. Because of that possibility, I am telling you, dear friends, and they are extensively used in today's practice. Literally every patient with epileptic problem is given phenytoin, and so many people once they cross 65, 70 are being given warfarin, and they are taking other medicines also. And warfarin is there in every drug interaction, or phenytoin is there in so many drug interactions, and female hormones. Please, contraceptives, make notes on all these things and learn about. I ask the teachers to give assignment phenytoin, assignment warfarin, like that. Let them speak, make a presentation on one drug only. Let them learn thoroughly about the drugs that are being used in the OP. In the OP, maybe every day 20 drugs will be there. Total, some drugs may come later, but frequency of the usage of drugs is only about 20. About those 20 drugs, write 10 important points and let them know. It should be a part of their knowledge base. Calcium, take away from food. Like that, they should be able to do patient counseling. So my point is this: learn a lot about these drugs which are very, very critical. That is the word I am saying. I am not using the word dangerous. They are critical. They are important in the healthcare field, but there is so much to learn about them. So then let us see about metabolism. Liver function declines with age, but There is a great inter-individual variability in this decline. This is because many factors affect the liver function. These are nutritional status, genetic, disease state, concurrent drug use, and environmental factors, and habits such as smoking. So what happens what are the physiological changes that happen that affect the metabolism of drugs? Liver mass decreases, hepatic blood flow decreases, and here see, you please observe, dear students, one point that is there. You cannot say that because the capacity of the liver is decreasing, all metabolism decreases. No, you can't tell that in a blanket manner. See, decreased first pass metabolism is happening. So, for drugs for which first pass metabolism is possible, make a list of them and try to remember. At least among the drugs which are used in your daily practice, write down. For phenytoin, warfarin, etc., is there first pass metabolism? That is one question. For the routine drugs which are being used in your OP, remember whether first pass metabolism is there or not. Now, look at the fourth point that I am making in my slide. Phase 1 metabolic reactions decline. If you go to my next slide, you will see that it is not happening to phase 2. Phase 1 metabolic reactions, which are like hydroxylation, which involves phenytoin, they decline. That means if you give phenytoin, it is not being metabolized by the liver by first pass metabolism, so it is available more in the blood. And dealkylation, benzodiazepines, they are being made more available in the blood. Sulfide oxidation, chlorpromazine, hydrolysis aspirin, nitroreduction chloramphenicol. So they become more available in the blood. So in the elderly, first pass metabolism is reduced. Due to this, the result is increased bioavailability of some drugs which suffer from high first pass metabolism. So drugs with a high intrinsic clearance have hepatic blood flow as a rate limiting step. That means if there is high hepatic blood flow, they are cleared. If there is low hepatic blood flow, they are not cleared. Because in the elderly, hepatic blood flow rate is decreased, propranolol is more available. So caution, if you are giving propranolol to an elderly person, it may become more bioavailable. So such drugs which would have an increased bioavailability when both hepatic blood flow and extraction are diminished. Drugs with a high availability such as antiarrhythmics should be administered at the lowest recommended doses and monitored carefully. So polypharmacy, alcohol use and smoking may influence metabolism more significantly than age alone. So what should we remember? We should remember that. So as age is advancing, so many physiological changes are happening, as we have already seen. Physiological changes happen that affect the absorption, that reduce the absorption mostly, and they change the distribution differently for water soluble drugs and lipid soluble drugs we have seen, and they change the metabolism. First pass metabolism is reduced, hepatic blood flow rate is reduced, but here also they affect differently drugs which are water soluble and lipid soluble, because phase 1 reactions are reduced but phase 2 reactions are not reduced. But not age alone, how they are keeping their body, how many diseases are there, what are their lifestyle also matter. So drugs with decreased hepatic clearance in the elderly are given here. A list of such drugs is given there. So generally there is a decrease in liver blood flow mass and rate. A reduction in function of some hepatic enzymes is there. Drugs metabolized by phase 1 reactions are affected. The clearance of these drugs is decreased. Those drugs which are metabolized by phase 2 reactions, like conjugation reactions, their metabolism is not affected in the age. So you need to know what type of drug is there. If you ask the question, is its metabolism affected? You can't give a blanket answer. Yes, in the age their metabolism is affected. You can't say that. Your questions are, is it having first pass metabolism or not? Then the next question is it being oxidized by, is it being metabolized by phase 1 reaction or a phase 2 conjugation reaction? Depending on all these things, your answer is going to be there. So, as a caution, what we are saying, you prefer drugs whose metabolism is not dependent on the mixed function oxidase system. So that is not undergoing system. Examples are prefer these drugs like aspirin, chlorpromazine, metoprolol, nortriptyline, propranolol, prazosin and verapamil. So renal elimination is also there. So at this point, I would like to ask you a question. Please pay attention. My question is this. Lipid-soluble drugs are taken up into the tissues to a greater extent in old people because of A. Increased proportion of fat in the body, B. Decreased proportion of fat in the body. I repeat my question. Lipid-soluble drugs are taken up into the tissues to a greater extent in old people. This is because A. Increased proportion of fat in the body, B. Decreased proportion of fat in the body. Now write the answer and send a message. So let me proceed to the last leg, elimination. So what are the physiological changes that are happening in the body that are extracting the renal elimination? Renal system clinically significant changes include decrease in renal mass. The mass of the renal kidney is decreasing 10 to 20%. Decrease in renal blood flow is happening. Decrease in glomerular filtration rate is happening. 50% decline between the age of 50 to 90 years of age. Decreased tubular secretion and absorption of drugs eliminated by tubular secretion includes cimetidine and procainamide. Decreased creatinine clearance is also happening. So a creatinine clearance must be calculated for each patient. The Fourcroft-Gard equation is commonly used to estimate renal function. Creatinine clearance is given by 140 minus age into ideal body weight divided by 72 into serum creatinine. This is serum creatinine. Ideal body weight is given for male and female. By this equation, we calculate the creatinine clearance. That is a more important factor than serum creatinine alone. Now, all of you must have observed, those who are having pharmacy practice background or PharmD background, those who are going to a hospital frequently will know that usually when somebody elderly comes, they will ask them to take serum creatinine. They will write a test. When they say, what is your serum creatinine level? 0.8, 0.9, 1.0. When they answer, all right, you are fine, you go. But please observe here, in this equation, what do you observe? Serum creatinine is only one factor that is talking about the renal efficiency. So all these things also matter. What is your age matters, what is your body weight matters. These two also determine creatinine clearance, which is a more important marker of your renal efficiency than serum creatinine alone. So all those who are working in the hospital, please remember, don't just bank on serum creatinine. Go to the next level, find out their age and their body weight, and quickly in your calculator you can find out the creatinine clearance by putting the value of serum creatinine and these two, and bank on creatinine clearance rather than serum creatinine alone. What I mean is, you can have your serum creatinine within the range and yet your renal efficiency may be suffering. So the medication, commonly used medication in requiring dosage adjustments for creatinine clearance include allopurinol, amantadine, most antibiotics, atenolol, and many other drugs. What do I mean here? For elderly people, if their renal function is not good, if their hepatic function is not good, you have to do dosage adjustment. So the pharmacokinetic changes in renal clearance are most important. PK changes possible are between the ages of 40 and 90. Glomerular filtration rate is falling, drug clearance is decreasing, and so dehydration is happening, hypertension is happening due to decreased kidney perfusion. So likely the drug will be there, more drug will be available in the blood. Drugs that are extensively excreted and unchanged by the kidney and who is metabolized or excreted by the kidney, be aware, give them in a reduced dose. So serum creatinine levels indicate efficiency of the renal function, but in older people they are not reliable. There is reduced muscle mass, there is less creatinine production. It offsets any decreased kidney excretion of creatinine. So here I want to tell you one important point which I have seen happen. So in the age there is reduced muscle mass. First point that we have made in the beginning slides only. Muscle mass is reduced. So creatinine production is reduced. So if creatinine elimination is also reduced, that is the reason why serum creatinine is maintaining balanced. So don't assume that the kidneys are efficient just because serum creatinine is balanced. Another point I want to make out is the elderly people, most doctors advise them, don't do over exercise. Exercise should also be limited in the elderly people because that can cause reduction in muscle mass and this renal deficiency may also be affected. So exercise should not also be too much in the elderly people. So an elderly person may show normal serum creatinine level but have reduced renal function. This is possible. So for accurate determination, you have to depend on other things or on Cockcroft-Gaard equation, which I have given earlier. So here you see the medical camp which we conducted in 2009. So the patients you see are usually from the rural people. These are our B.Pharm students. B.Pharm students, this we did under IPA banner. So students usually take the height, take the weight, give the body metabolic, tell them their values and do patient counseling also. So at this stage I want to ask you a question. So listen carefully to my third question. In old people, the level of serum albumin decreases, increases. Which one is the right? A decreases, B increases. In old people, the level of serum albumin, what happens to it? A says decreases, B says increases. Give your answer. So now I am proceeding to another aspect. So till now what I told? I told that several physiological changes happen in the body which affect the pharmacokinetics. That is how the time course of the blood concentration, AUC and all that. Now I am talking about pharmacodynamic changes with aging. So what I am talking about then? I am telling you these changes happen in the bodies of old people as a result of which even if you have the same amount of drug in the blood as a young person, the response is either less or more. Why is this? Because what I am talking about the changes here are the receptors, changes in the receptors that are giving the response. That is what I am telling. Please pay attention. Pharmacodynamic changes, that is altered responsiveness to a given serum drug level. That is a pharmacodynamic effect. To give you an example, suppose I am talking about metformin. If I am saying the amount of metformin is 1 microgram per ml in the blood, I am talking about its pharmacokinetics. When I talk about its blood level concentration, I am talking about its pharmacokinetics. Suppose I am telling metformin this lady has taken and there is a fall in blood glucose of 20 units. It came down from 120 FBS to 100 fasting blood glucose. That is pharmacodynamic effect. Pharmacodynamic means response, effect. That is the pharmacodynamic. Pharmacokinetic means blood level concentration and all that. This is what we are talking about. So pharmacodynamic changes happen because there is a change in the receptor, tissue responsiveness or changes in homeostatic responses. Now this sentence is critical for us, let us understand. So the receptors which are there are changing, their response is changing. The tissues that are there are changing in their responsiveness and the homeostatic responses. That is how the body's secondary level mechanisms are there. They are changing. So what I am telling, in the brain for many, for old people more than 85, 90, in the brain there is an atrophy. The receptors response is less. They are not so active. Because of that only they have memory loss, they have confusion, they have Alzheimer's and all that. The tissues are not responding properly. Their balancing of the body, their thermoregulation is not good. These are the changes as a result of which, even though the drug content is the same as that of a young person in the blood, the response is different. So then, This is what I am talking about. As examples I can give you, if you give the same level of estrogen to a young lady or a postmenopausal woman, the postmenopausal woman's reaction will be different, response will be different. So the CNS is particularly vulnerable to alterations in drug response. ADRs to effects of benzodiazepines like diazepam occur at a lower concentration in the elderly than in young patients. Here what's happening? Remember, diazepam came earlier also. In pharmacokinetics also it happened, and I told you keep 5 pages to that. So here also it is coming. One thing is it may become available in a larger concentration. Second thing is, even for the concentration that is available, more response will be there because because of the difference in the tissue response. Adverse effects of benzodiazepines occur at lower drug concentrations in the elderly than in young patients. Loses a significant number of active cells. Brain, some degree of brain atrophy is common, and there is a reduction in common blood flow. So the number of cholinergic neurons in some parts of the brain decreases with age. So because of all these reasons, elderly patients are more sensitive, they are more responsive, ADRs happen more to the effects of the drug with anticholinergic properties. Aging increases MOA activity, results in decline. So this causes an increased sensitivity to dopamine blocking agents like antipsychotic reactions. So increased responsiveness of CNS to drug effects may be manifested as excessive sedation, confusion, and behavioral response. Iatrogenic drug-related responses are more. Patients older than 65 years were studied. So more response is
I think there is some technical problem.
Yeah, I will look into that, sir. I will look into that.
Respected audience, I think there will be some technical problem. We have to wait till the madam has to join.
I request the delegates to be continued here. Madam will join soon.
Sorry for the inconvenience caused. It is continuing. Please be with us.
Madam, excuse me, madam, please unmute your mic. Unmute your mic.
Sorry, still it is coming. It's coming.
Now am I audible? Right. Okay.
Yes, madam.
Hello, now I'm audible and visible? Hello?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible and
madam.
visible. You can.
Yes. Now I'm starting with altered homeostasis again. So, patients with cardiac conditions who are on diuretics are more vulnerable. So, balance and maintenance of posture are affected and some drugs may influence it. The homeostatic and autonomic mechanisms in renal, blood glucose control, bladder function are all altered in the age. These are going to affect the sensitivity to the drugs because drugs are going to be more excreted or less excreted. All these things are happening. So in the age, the thermoregulation efficiency is also reduced. So here you see a medical camp which will be conducted in 2012. We were conducting this in a place called a village, Koduru. So here you see mostly there are geriatric people only. The patients who attend the medical camps in the villages are usually geriatric, and here I was giving pamphlets and telling them information. The need is to raise their awareness and tell them about the good things and the bad things, how to eat, you need not tell them about exercise. If you look at them, you will observe that the level of obesity is much less in the villages. If the problems in the villages, as per my observation, are lack of proper nutrition, and because they do a lot of work without without ideal type of nutrition, I don't say lack, ideal nutrition procedure and all that, balance in nutrition, they get a lot of pain. We always carry a lot of pain medicines and pain oils, not necessarily tablets, but pain oils we take a lot, and ointments, and we distribute to them, and we give them protein tonics and all that. So here, this is how raising their awareness is important, and for us to understand is important. So, what is the fourth question that we are having? So, the question is this, please listen. The responsiveness of CNS to drug effects in the elderly patients, A decreases, B increases. I am repeating, the responsiveness of the CNS to drug effects in the elderly patients, A decreases, B increases. Please give your answer. So the effect of hepatic disease is there on pharmacokinetics of the drug. So if hepatic disease is there, then what can happen? Metabolism does not happen properly. As a result, more drug is available, which are, if they are susceptible to metabolism. Because of changes in metabolism and protein binding, certain drugs, the plasma protein binding of weakly acidic drugs in uremic patients is decreased, whereas the protein binding of weakly basic drugs is less affected. So, the decrease in drug protein binding results in a larger fraction of free drug and an increase in the volume of distribution. So, when there is patients with uremia or kidney impairment or renal insufficiency, then there is a change in the apparent volume of distribution because the drug is not being eliminated. So, two general pharmacokinetic approaches for these dosage adjustments include methods based on drug clearance and methods based on elimination half-life. So, the drug clearance gives the estimate of the total clearance, which is cleared by how the blood is cleared of the drug by the different organs, whereas the elimination half-life is depends upon the terminal portion of the AUC curve, how the drug is eliminated. Based upon that, the half-life is coming. So you have to do dosage adjustment when there is hepatic problem or when there is renal problem. So pay attention to these methods based on drug clearance. Try to maintain the desired C average, steady state concentration, average steady state concentration after multiple oral dosage or multiple IV bolus injections as total body clearance, total changes. So the calculation is given by C average, steady state concentration is given by fraction of dose absorbed multiplied by the dose, oral dose given, total clearance, and tau, the dosage interval. So what are the things that are involved here? What is the dose? What is the total dosing interval? These two are the two things that are have to be altered. That are the factors that are involved. So either you can change based upon the total clearance. Here I am giving you one equation. So the overall elimination rate constant for many drugs is reduced in the uremic patient. A dosage regimen may be designed for the uremic patient, that is for the kidney failure patient, either by reducing the normal dose of the drug and keeping the frequency of dosing constant. What are you doing here? What is the first approach? Suppose the dose is 10 mg and the frequency of dosing is 2 times a day. Reduce the dose to 5 mg, keep the frequency constant. What is another strategy? Decrease the frequency of dosing. Instead of giving 2 times a day, give only 1 time a day. Prolong the dosage interval and keep the dose constant. Keep it 10 mg, reduce the dosing to 1 time, like that. So here, the two things involved, D and tau. You keep one constant, you keep the and reduce the other. Either you reduce the frequency and keep the dose constant, or reduce the dose and keep the frequency constant. By either of these things, do dosage adjustment in the case of patients, elderly patients with renal failure. So geriatric patients can be taken into clinical trials only when all these conditions are maintained. This is what the Drugs and Cosmetics Act gives so much importance to geriatric conditions. As a result, mostly geriatric people are not included in so many clinical trials. So these are the drugs with decreased metabolism in chronic hepatic disease. So here you see us another medical camp in which the doctors are there giving patient counseling. So the usual procedure is these patients go to the doctors in our medical camp, take the prescription, go to the dispensary. Our informed students give medicines. They collect the medicines and come to this place where they give patient counseling by the pharmacy, clinical pharmacy teachers. So this is how, as a group, as a total group, we conduct as a team, we conduct the medical camp. Now, I'll ask you in another question, my fifth question. In one dose adjustment strategy in uremic patients, the frequency of dosing is kept constant and the dose of the drug is, answers are A, B. A is reduced, B is increased. Question again. In one dose adjustment strategy in uremic patients, the frequency of dosing is kept constant and the dose of the drug is A reduced, B increased. Give your answer. So next, prescribing for the elderly has to be followed by a proper methodology. You need to be cautioned. Polypharmacy is to be avoided. Under prescribing of essential drugs is to be avoided. And selection of the right dose and its adjustment are important. Find out whether they have renal or hepatic insufficiency. General rule is start slow and go slow. So, what do we mean? Start with a reduced dose. Start slow and go slow. Titrate to the given condition and go slow. Don't quickly increase the dose. Start with a reduced dose, titrate to the clinical condition. That means titrate to the necessary BP or blood glucose and stay there and slowly go. Start slow and go slow is the slogan. So general guidelines for CNS drugs are start with 1/3 to half of the usual starting dose for younger patients. Titrate the drug against clinical response. And other important aspects are diagnosis, weight, renal function, hepatic function and other medicines being used. What is the role of the clinical pharmacist? In geriatric pharmacy practice, promote safe and rational use of drugs, reduce polypharmacy, go for dosage adjustment and learn all the principles of dosage adjustment, promote patient compliance. Awareness is needed regarding the health problems in the age, physiological changes likely in the age, drug interactions and ADOs of the drugs mostly used by the age. Here you see patient counseling being given in KGH. So here we have in our room in the King George Hospital where our pharmacy practice happens. So these are all the pharmacy students. These are the pharmacy teachers who are clinical pharmacists. They are giving advice to the counseling and they are giving counseling to the patients and students are observing. Pharmacy students, 5th year, 6th year students also give counseling because we have a heavy OP usually, not in these corona days, but usually we have a heavy OP on any given day. We get approximately 100 patients for patient counseling to our room. So here again, I ask my 6th question. General rule in prescribing for the elderly is start with 1/3 to half of the usual starting dose which is used for young patients. Yes or no? A is yes, B is no. Repeating the question, general rule in prescribing for the elderly is start with 1/3 to half of the usual starting dose which is used for young patients. A is yes, B is no. So give your answer. So patient counseling needs to be given in a drug specific and disease specific manner and patient specific manner. So communication with the aged is a challenge because they have several issues. And here I am giving a few cases which we have done way back, maybe nearly 10 years, 9 years back at least, with our first 2 batches of PharmD students, and we have presented these also. Some specific cases, how we have done, I have taken so that it will be like a guidance to the PharmD students how to do the counseling. So the case was a 60-year-old male, betamethasone valerate cream, cetirizine and chlorpheniramine are given. So this is the first case. So For betamethasone valerate, we have to tell the patient, this is a steroid cream, which is potent. So it is not like any other antiseptic cream which you can apply any times as you want. A steroid cream, single application is often sufficient and where indicated by the doctor only 2 times. It should be applied in a thin manner. It should not be used like any other cream which can be applied any number of times like that. This should be applied only once, if necessary twice, in a thin manner. And cetirizine and chlorpheniramine are both antihistaminic drugs. They may cause drowsiness. So for both you have to give the caution, don't drive when you take the drug. And this, a lot of time difference should be taken. Both should not be taken at the same time. So we tell them like this, apply only once. Cetirizine take around 6 p.m. Chlorpheniramine take at 9 p.m. And don't go for a drive after taking these 2 drugs. So in another case, BP medicines and Primarose are given. Capsule Primarose is a simple medicine, not an allopathic medicine. So how to be taken? Take BP medicine regularly at the same time every day. Don't take fruit juice after oily fruit juice or oily foods or junk foods. Cut down on salt. So for ethopillin and theophylline, you take in this manner, take at this time. Advise the patient to take twice daily, and if there is no breathlessness, come back to the doctor. So like this, when so many medicines are, this is the case of a polypharmacy. We usually take a paper, a big paper, and write down. Take pantoprazole early in the morning, amlodipine like this, how we have written. So pantoprazole reduces burning or pain in the stomach. Take early on the morning, no food or medicine till half an hour after consumption of pantoprazole. Deriphyllin, morning 8 a.m. and evening 6 p.m. as indicated by the doctor. Clopidogrel, it helps the blood flow smoothly. Morning 9 a.m. Orofer, it is iron. Take at 3 p.m. That is away from all other foods. Aspirin, it helps the blood flow smoothly. Evening at 4 o'clock. Atenolol, because aspirin and iron should not be taken at the same time. Atenolol, take at 7 p.m. So when atorvastatin, take at night. Take BP medicine regularly. Maintain appropriate weight control. Like this, when polypharmacy is there, the role of the clinical pharmacist is to help the patient in writing down different time points at which it is to be taken and impress on the patient carefully. Take pantoprazole fasting early morning, amlodipine 8 a.m., then atenolol evening. There will be like this, at what time they have to take and what is the condition with respect to the food. Can they take with food, without food, like that. So this is the role of the clinical pharmacist in giving advice. Patient counseling really helps. When atenolol and enalapril are given, how to give advice. What are the critical points? Calcium complexes with foods and other medicines. So it is better to take it on an empty stomach. It has better to be taken early in the morning or in the night so that it is not complexing with any other medicine. So like this, we give counseling to the elderly is an important point because they have polypharmacy, they have economic constraints, and counseling in diabetes, you will need to do special care. And we have a study wherein we have established that patient counseling, before patient counseling and after patient counseling, we have determined the quality of life, and we have established that patient counseling does help in the case of people. So effect of patient counseling and patient HRQL is that it has considerably improved. And we get a lot of professional satisfaction when our patient counseling helps the patients. So here you see, these were the beginning days of our pharmacy practice in the King George Hospital. Here I was there. These are our actually B.Pharm students at that time. They were giving advice to the patients. This is the brochure which we have prepared for diabetes. Based on that brochure, we explain every step. We tell nearly at least 20 things to the patients. We tell about the medicine, we tell about the disease, we tell about the patient. Then we give the brochure to the patient so that the patient will remember after recording their height and weight on the brochure. So this is a medical camp we conducted in Kovada, where a M.Pharm pharmacy practice student is doing work. So here again, I want to ask you a question. This is my 7th question. The caution, do not drive after taking this medicine, should be given in the case of cetirizine. A, yes, B, no. I am repeating my question. do not drive after taking this medicine should be given in the case of cetirizine? A, yes, B, no. So please give your answer. So I have gone through a few research papers so that I wanted to know what are the people talking about, what is the recent research regarding the role of the pharmacist in the pharmacotherapy in older people. So I'll tell only the conclusions. I have already given the reference. You can see they are very good articles. So this study concluded that when pharmacists play a proactive role in conducting medication reviews and in the active education of other healthcare professionals, pharmacotherapy for geriatric patients happens in a better manner. So this is actually like summarizing what I am trying to say. What is needed in clinical pharmacy is you need to have a lot of knowledge regarding what's happening in the old people. Then you need to have the skills to do patient counseling. You need to have the skills to enhance awareness regarding all these points in your fellow professionals as well as in the patients. When that happens, pharmacotherapy happens much better. Better results have been reported when pharmacists are skilled and work as a part of a multidisciplinary team. My friends, all of you must learn to work as a part of a multidisciplinary team. In a hospital, so many other people are there. Naturally, doctors are the forefront. They are giving the treatment, they are leading. Pharmacists are there, nurses are there, ward boys are there, so many others are there. We are all a part. We are each one functioning, doing a particular function that is necessary for the patient's well-being. So we should know how to work as a part of a multidisciplinary team. So another paper says, this is in the case of cancer. So the conclusion is that the effect of intervention from a clinical pharmacist can optimize the care of geriatric oncology patients. This impresses on the role of the patient in medication review. That is what many of my PharmD students who are working in the hospitals tell me. They say that, Madam, since I came, the level of drug interactions has decreased and the level of ADRs has decreased in my hospital. That is what they tell me. So non-pharmacological supportive care in older cancer patients also is important. So in another study, we have found that hospital pharmacists should join the collaborative multidisciplinary team to improve COVID-19 patients' outcome and to reduce mortality. So this is a very recent paper after COVID has come, and they have established that the role of the hospital pharmacist is very important as a part of the multidisciplinary team. So the role of the pharmacist is important. Gaining knowledge regarding the PK and PD changes in geriatric people and the challenges they face and use it in advising doctors prescribing is important. Patient counseling is important. Participating in multidisciplinary team and offering medication review, ADR prevention and supportive care is important. So I want to repeat this. Gaining knowledge regarding physiological changes that affect the PK and PD is important. And learning communication skills is important. Being a part of a multidisciplinary team is important. Learning how to do patient counseling, that is communication wise and point wise. So if one type of patient comes to you, you do patient counseling in that manner only all the time, and all the students do it in the same manner. For that team, what the faculty have to do is, this is the way you do for diabetic people, this is the way you do for BP people. Like that, you develop pamphlets and make the students learn and do that every time. So this is our medical camp in Kovada, where all the geriatric people have lined up and our students are finding out the BP of the patients. Now here is my last question, 8th question. When the pharmacists are made to work as a part of a multidisciplinary team, the results in the healthcare are A, better, B, worse. I am repeating the question. When the pharmacists are made to work as a part of a multidisciplinary team, the results in the healthcare are A, better, B, worse. So choose your answer and give the answer. Now I wish to give my conclusion. We must all rise as a team and together face this challenge and raise the banner of pharmacy in our country. pharmacist associations such as IPA, IPGA, APTI have to work on raising their skills and networks so that multidisciplinary healthcare teams are possible in India. So the references I used are these are the research papers, and then I used the book of G. Parthasarathy, and then this is our research study, Radhakrishna A. Umadevi, Vedavati, Naresh, Upadhyayila, Dr. Maidili and myself. So we have established that pharmacist intervention in the form of patient counseling improves the HRQL of patients, diabetic patients. And the book by Leon Shargel is a wonderful book where you can learn a lot about pharmacokinetics and applied pharmacokinetics. So I'll read out the answers for the questions. Please listen. For question number 1, it is no. For question number 2, it is increased proportion of body fat. For question number 3, decreases. A, decreases. For question number 4, B, increases. For question number 5, A, reduced. For question number 6, A, yes. For question number 7, A, yes. For question number 8, A, better. I am repeating the answers. Question number 1, no. Question number 2, increased proportion of body fat. Question number 3, decreases. Question number 4, increases. Question number 5, reduced. Question number 6, yes. Question number 7, yes. Question number 8, better. So these are the references, and I thank you. I thank Dr. Sudhakar, management, principal and faculty of Nehru College of Pharmacy for giving me this wonderful opportunity to address all of you and tell you about geriatric care. And you can always give a mail to me if you have any doubts on this topic or if you have any comment or suggestion. Thank you all for giving me this opportunity and for your patient listening.
Thank you, madam. We are very pleased about your intellectual lecture. This is a known area, but novel topic. So, this is a time for discussion. So, participants are requested for interaction session. You can ask questions to directly, or you can put it in the chat box also. You are welcome. Participants,
I think there are
welcome
no
for
questions.
discussion. We'll ask one. Madam, I would like to clarify one more doubt.
Yes, sir.
Actually, this is my experience. One of the patient is aged about 80. Actually, has got simply dryness of the skin in the knees and legs, etc. So we have taken to the physician, and he has given what we have given some pain, that is steroidal pain as well as antipruritic drugs. Everything has been given. But what will happen? It was actually what he told is drowsiness has come, and actually it's loss of stability. So he's unable to walk without support like that. Then finally, this is my father actually. So what I thought, so instead of giving some medicines, why can't we go differently, because it's a simple dryness of the skin like that, I thought. So then probably I have taken a first coconut oil to apply on its legs and other things. And 1 week after, again it feels actually he told us the dryness was there. But then after that I have changed into olive oil.
Okay.
So after applying olive oil, within 15 days, everything has gone. So
Yes,
all
sir.
the things what we have. So it also actually he's very happy because he's
Yes.
not having any priorities. If you are taking a medicine, the adverse effect, etc., will be there. So that's so it's a pediatric pharmacy is a very important aspect,
You
and
are
we should
right, sir.
apply the knowledge.
Always for the young as well as old, and especially for the old, non-pharmacological is what is the name of what you have done, sir. Non-pharmacological. You have applied oil repeatedly, every day maybe, and a little bit of exposure to the sun also will be good. Apply oil to the body and sit under the sun. So not very severe sun, but just like that. So that will be good, sir. And taking a lot of fluids will also help. Always non-pharmacological is better than pharmacological treatment, sir. Only in the case of extreme pain or something like that, go for pharmacological. What you have done is excellent, sir. That is good.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
So I think there are no questions
Coming, ma'am, coming.
coming.
Please ask questions. You have any doubts?
Have they responded, Dr. Sudhakar? Have they sent responses to my questions?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
They have sent?
Chat box there.
In chat box they have given response? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Later please give me a feedback on how many people responded with answers.
Yeah, yeah.
They're all simple questions. I just wanted to make it more interactive and keep them more attentive. That's why I did that, sir.
Any more questions? Participants?
Excuse me.
Welcome.
Sir, this is Satya from Adipura Shakti Vijay Pharmacy, sir.
Yes.
This is my
Please,
feedback,
madam.
sir. This is my feedback, sir. Title as well as madam presentation is very interesting, sir. Thank you so much for arranging such a topics and presenter, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. It's a known area, novel topic.
I think if there are no further questions, we have to close, Dr. Sudhakar.
Sure, madam. Thank you very much for your practice.
Sudhakar sir, little bit louder. Your voice is not clear.
Yeah. Thank you very much, madam, for sparing the valuable time with us. And your
Right.
excellent presentation, your practical approach is good and effective. This is what you have done once and dedicated your valuable time and presented for us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Namaste. I'm leaving now.
Thank you very much, madam, for your wonderful lecture.
Ashri, madam. Ashri, madam. Yeah, please.
On behalf of Medical Pharmacy, I thank Professor Vijay and for such a wonderful session. Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you,
So thank you, Dr.
participants.
Sudhakar.
We will meet
Thank you, sir.
tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks a lot, madam. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I'm leaving.
I thank all the delegates for their participation and time and effort they took to participate with us. Fifth day of International EFDP program will be on tomorrow at 8:30 a.m.
Madam, kindly announce the tomorrow session, which I have sent the message to you in the WhatsApp. Madam, Rajshri Madam.
Sir?
Yeah, I have sent a message on the WhatsApp. Please.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, please inform to the participants.
Dear delegates, tomorrow's session is very important and interesting. A speaker from USA presenting for us, and that session will be followed by another speaker, will be on practical approach. It is based on the drug repurposing. Like yesterday, there was an interesting session for us. Likewise, there will be another session also. I request all the delegates, don't miss the session. Kindly join at 8:15 a.m. itself. Thank you. All the delegates are invited for tomorrow's session also. Kindly give your feedback also. Once again, thanking you all. Have a nice day.